What's up? Welcome to Living Life Different with the Buckners. I am Kristen.
I'm John.
That's weird.
I was sitting here thinking I feel very awkward.
I thought about saying a different name, but I decided not to.
Why?
I'm Jane. I don't know, just throw you off. But I didn't. All right, so today we're talking about this idea of begin as you mean to go. If you like this, you might like some of our other videos. You can hit the subscribe button, check it out. But we're talking about begin as you mean to go, which John, every time I have to say the title because for the last, I don't know,
what I
15
say
years,
every time
John,
I change it.
go as you mean to be, or
Same
every
thing,
time
right?
it's something different. I'm like, that's not the phrase.
It's all the same premise.
Begin as you
It's
mean
the
to go.
mindset that you have to
Yeah,
get.
that's true. The title doesn't matter. It's the mindset. So go as you mean to be, begin as you mean to go. But it's really this principle of starting with an end goal in mind. There goes Dallas. That's our pup. He's a golden doodle.
Like and subscribe if you want to see him.
But begin as you mean to go. This idea, the concept of that you can't get where you want to be, the goal that you have, the intention you have, and really in any area of your life without first setting some intentions of what it's going to look like to get there.
Yeah, and I think obviously we've applied this to parenting, we've applied this to marriage, but you can apply this to like any area of life. We deal with, we've done some things with our own health and we help a lot of people in health. It applies to that. Like if you're like, hey, I have a fitness goal. Maybe it's a career. Like you want this, attain this in your career. Like I said, parenting, marriage, our kids play sports. Maybe it's an athletic goal. Whatever it is, you can apply this. Where do you want to be at the end of 6 months, a year, 5 years? That's where I want to be. How do I need to start acting today if that's where I want to be?
Yeah, where we first originally heard that phrase was actually in a parenting book that I read, I think before, look at Dallas over there. He's so cute. A parenting book before I actually ever even had kids. I think I was pregnant with our oldest, Brayden, and it was in a parenting book, and actually the book was talking about sleep training, and the whole concept was begin as you mean to go. If you want a child that is a good sleeper, these are steps that
No. You want a child that's a
if
good
you
sleeper.
want, yes, you do.
There's no ifs.
These are some steps that you can take towards pointing you in that right direction. And it does kind of remind me of that whole idea of structural tension. We talked about that in a different video, right? Where you have your current reality here, where you want to go, and then the action steps in between. Begin as you mean to go is really a similar concept. I just think it feels maybe like a different way to process it than the structural tension. I think about us with our kids and our family, like begin as you mean to go. Okay, where do I mean to go? I want to create a home that my kids want to be in. So our kids right now are 13, 11, and 8. I want when they're 18, 16, and 13.
You did that quick.
I did.
That's
and
pretty
I was kind
good
of
for
nervous
you.
about it as I was going. Like, don't be stupid.
Normally our
stupid.
13-year-old has to do the math in our home.
Yeah,
so.
math's not my strongest suit. I'm more with the words. But I want them to want to come to our house and be the house that they want to hang out with even when they're in high school and beyond that. Like I want them to want to be at home. I want them to want to spend time with us. So what does that look like? We start cultivating things now and even when they were younger to start building in the importance and value of family and time together. We do a lot of fun things as a family. We spend a lot of time together. We invite other people into our home and so that the kids can see like, hey, like we can bring other people in, you can spend time here and enjoy your friends here and other families here because we want to create an environment where our kids want to be. And so that's another avenue of like, okay, if that's what you're going after, what are you going to do now? Because you cannot just wait until, I think that's the biggest thing, you can't just wait until, and you can apply this to anything, you can't just wait until your kids are at that age to start making those decisions. You can't just wait until your health gets to a point where you're like, shoot, what do I do? Or your finances, now I'd like to be wealthy. Like it doesn't work like that. If those are things that you want, you have to be putting steps in place. Starts with knowing where you're at, but then what am I going to do to ensure that that happens?
Right, and I think on like parenting, right? Like we have a teenager now. And if anybody else has teenagers, let us know in the comment if you got a teenager and how you get through the teenage years. Actually, I'm excited about all the upcoming teenage years, but with teenagers comes a lot of different responsibilities, a lot of different freedoms. One maybe being cell phones. We had to decide now that we're in the teenage years, this isn't when we decide how we're going to parent a teenager. We decided years ago, what does it look like for us when our son gets into the teenage years?
Right.
When our daughters get, and everybody has to decide for themselves. It's not a right or wrong. I've always said this phrase. It's not a right or wrong. It's wrong for us.
Yeah.
It might not be like, a crime or, these type of decisions that are right or wrong, but what's right for our family and our family structure.
Right.
And so now that our son's a teenager, we're kind of living in decisions and structure we've set up years before he was a teenager.
Right.
Think about, like we said, there's so many areas this applies to. Think about finances. It might be, in 5 years, this is where I want to be financially. I want to be out of debt. I want to be able to own my own home. I want to whatever, right? Check off the things. Well, if in 5 years I want to be out of debt, maybe today that means I need to start living the way somebody who's not in debt lives, meaning
Right.
maybe not on credit cards, maybe not taking out certain loans or having car payments. Again, it's what works for you, but you start with the mindset. I heard somebody say this once about being a runner. I'm not really a runner. It's not my favorite thing. Maybe you're a runner. I don't know. But they wanted to get into running and do marathon running and things like that. And what they started telling themselves as they prepared was, how would a runner eat? What would a runner do in the morning? And their mind starts to think, what would a runner? And then you become a runner, right? What would a healthy person, what choice would they make? What would somebody what would a healthy marriage look like when we've been married 50 years? How do I start acting now to be able to get to that? For us, it was, what do we want our home to look like when all 3 of our kids are teenagers? Well, we started doing that when they were young. Dallas just keeps popping his head up. And those are the questions, right? This is where I want to be. So what would this person, we have a friend of ours in our life, and they say, partner with your future self. What would this person, the person I want to be in 5 years, the way I want my life to look in 5 years, 10 years, what would they be doing? How do I start implementing those things now? And that's that whole idea of go as you mean to be. Just kidding. I did that on purpose.
As you mean to go.
I did that on purpose.
I don't know that you did.
I did.
Also, too, I think it's important to recognize that you are going to have to pivot at some point. You can have what you think. For us, thinking of parenting teens. We had set values and foundations and things in place for our family. But then you get to a certain age or a certain scenario or circumstance or whatever, and it causes you to go, okay, am I going to change how I view on that? Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Do I need to pivot on my thought process on that? Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. So having an open mentality too, when those things arise, say it's your finances. Well, sometimes there's things that come up in the economy that don't quite fit into the plan that you had. You have to pivot, but you can still take the principles. It doesn't mean you just wait until everything hits the fan. Take those principles in the beginning, begin as you mean to go, where you want to go, and then if you need to shift in the middle, you shift in the middle. It's not concrete, it's not permanent, and things are going to come up. It's not like we have we don't have a perfect marriage, we don't have perfect parenting, we don't have a perfect home environment. John is by far not perfect.
Whoa.
Kidding. But it's a great foundation to set of having that thought process of not just looking at the here and now, but looking at where I want to be in so many different areas of our lives. So hopefully that is helpful. Begin as you mean to go. Don't listen to John's version. It'll confuse you.
But it gets you the same spot.
It does get you to the same spot. Same mindset. All right, you guys. We'll see you next time.